Ice climbers are back! Ice climbers are back! Ice climbers are back! Ice climbers are back! What the? Hello? Matt A! Wait, didn't you write me out of your videos because you were trying to go too heavy with the plot? Yes, I did, but I had to call you to tell you that ice climbers are back. What? Did you say that ice climbers are back? Yes, ice climbers are back! Ice climbers are back! Super Smash Bros. Has finally made its way to Nintendo Switch, and unlike many recent Switch games, it is absolutely not merely a deluxe port of Smash 4. As easy as it would have been to just port Smash 4 with additional characters, stages, items, and combining elements from both the 3DS and Wii U versions, Ultimate went in a completely different direction with updated physics, changed movesets, character redesigns, and the removal of certain modes from Smash 4 like Target Blast, Home Run Contest, Smash Run, Smash Tour, Event Mode, Masterpieces, Stage Builder, Master and Crazy Orders, and the fight against Master Core at the end of Classic Mode, to make room for new elements like Spirits, World of Light, and so much more. So since I took an in-depth look at Smash 4 back when that game first came out in some videos that are less than stellar by today's standards, I thought I'd do the same for the series' most recent entry, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But I've kind of mellowed out since 2014, so don't expect the same angry overreactions. Fucking Duck Hunt! So without further ado, this is my review of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. What really makes this game worthy of the title Ultimate is shown in the game's tagline, "Everyone is here," meaning every fighter from every previous Smash Bros. Game is playable in this one, including ones we haven't seen since Melee, Brawl, and even a handful of newcomers thrown in on top of them. That's 65 fighters plus newcomers, for a total of 76 total fighters, not including upcoming downloadable content. That's an insane number, but as if that weren't enough, not just everyone is here, but almost everything is here as well. Every Pokeball Pokemon from Smash 4 plus some new ones and the return of Scizor from Melee, nearly every assist trophy from 4 plus the return of Grey Fox, Isaac, and plenty of new ones like Zero, Shovel Knight, and oh hey, Chef Kawasaki as Kirby's Final Smash from Brawl. Neat. Every item from previous games that wasn't fucking dumb, and hoo boy, 99 returning stages. Rather than go through all of them that weren't in 4, instead I'll just talk about the ones that didn't make it in, and what I think about them. There are some stages like Planet Zebes, Sector Z, Melee Mute City, and PictoChat 1 that were essentially replaced by similar stages from later games, but also Melee Mushroom Kingdom 1, which I guess they thought was too similar to the one from 64. None of these really bother me very much, and neither do the vertical scrolling stages like Icicle Mountain and Rumble Falls. They were garbage. Strangely enough though, horizontal scrolling stages do make an appearance, including Brawl's Mushroomy Kingdom, which had its alternate underground layout removed in 3DS. And when they brought it back for Ultimate, they did not re-add the underground version. I guess it was to promote accessibility and always knowing what stage you'll be actually playing on without having to separate them into 2 stages, but I still find it odd that they didn't bring it back. As for Pokefloats, as cool as it would have been to see some more recent Pokemon on that stage, let's face it, it was also pretty garbage. Now I actually liked Smash 3DS's Rainbow Road stage, but hey, any disrespect we can show to Mario Kart 7 is always welcome. Now for the stage omissions that I actually would have liked to see in this game. Pac-Maze from 3DS was unique, and I think it had a better gimmick than Golden Plains, which did make it into Ultimate, but I suppose it wasn't very aesthetically interesting. But from the Wii U version, we lost Jungle Hijinks, Woolly World, Orbital Gate Assault, and Pyrosphere, which sucks because I really liked all of those stages. They were some of my favorites in 4. The only one I can justifiably understand is Pyrosphere, since Ridley is now a fighter and can't really also be a stage boss, and the stage would be boring if they took the boss out. But the other 3 are very significant omissions that I'm gonna have to learn to live without. Oh my god, I almost forgot about the Miiverse stage! Oh right. Anyways, despite these omissions, I love some of the choices for returning stages. The ones from 3DS look beautiful in HD, and now 8-player Smash is available on every single stage. They also all have Battlefield forms now in addition to their Omega forms, and while I'm not sure anyone actually uses them, they're a harmless addition. As for new stages, there are only 4, which is ridiculously small, but understandable considering how many returning stages there are. And once all 5 DLC characters are out, which each comes with its own new stage, there will be 9 new stages, which is the same amount as 64. First up is the Great Plateau Tower, which, while the stage itself isn't very interesting, the background shows a lot of the world of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is absolutely breathtaking and by far the most effort I've seen placed into just the background of a Smash Bros. Stage. But a close second in that category would be New Donk City Hall, which you already know I have a huge bias towards because I love Super Mario Odyssey. And what makes the stage even cooler is that if the music selected is Jump Up Superstar, Pauline and her band show up in the stage. I love it when stages have technicalities like that. Moray Towers from Splatoon is interesting to look at, but not much goes on it, and it's somewhat difficult to maneuver on. Dracula's Castle from Castlevania, however, has a ton going on, with various bosses from the series showing up in the background that looks stunning in HD. But as if these 103 stages weren't enough, there's a great new feature called Stage Morph, where you can have 2 stages switch between each other mid-battle. Certain stage combinations with this look really cool, and I almost always have it turned on. The biggest difference between Ultimate and 4 has got to be the physics. I went into this game expecting it to feel exactly like 4, but the combat is so much faster paced, and characters seem a lot heavier. As dangerous as it is to say this, I think the game it feels most like is Melee. Hell, in my opinion, it feels better than Melee. But of course, Melee players won't dare prefer this game over their precious GameCube masterpiece. Anyways, if I had one major complaint about how this game feels, as with most Switch games, I'm not a big fan of the Joy-Cons. The joystick is too small, and even with my small hands, my thumb very frequently slips off of it. Of course, this problem is completely solved with the use of other controllers, but since the Joy-Cons are the default control scheme that 90% of new players will be using at first, I wish they were a little more convenient. Mad props to anyone who can pull off competitive play with these things. Another great new feature? The option to have a final smash meter. Now your ultimate attacks work like normal fighting games, and honestly it feels way more fair and balanced than having to chase down and break a smash ball. I love this feature, and like Stage Morph, I almost always have it turned on. But I know why you're really here. You want to know what I think of the newcomers in this game. Well, that's too bad, because first, we gotta talk about the Smash 4 DLC. At the time of my original reviews, none of the DLC characters were out yet, and the only one who had even been announced was Mewtwo. And having not played Melee at the time, I was afraid that Mewtwo would feel too much like Lucario, since the big deal in Brawl was that people acted like Lucario was a clone replacement for Mewtwo, since they're somewhat similar. But no, Mewtwo is actually very different. He's floatier, which I always love, and has almost his exact same moveset from Melee, which differs significantly from Lucario's. The next 2 DLC fighters are also returning characters from previous games, Lucas from Brawl and Roy from Melee. There's not much I have to say about Lucas, he's very similar to how he was in Brawl, and a lot of people really wanted him back. Roy, however, is very different from how he was in Melee. He's no longer much of a Marth clone, and he has been massively buffed. His design is now also more heavily based on his appearance as an Einherjar in the Fire Emblem Awakening DLC. But now for the new fighters, and let me tell you, they picked some real doozies, with 3 out of 4 of them being third party. First up was Ryu from the Street Fighter series, and I just love the idea of characters from other fighting games being playable in a more party-based fighting game like Smash. And interestingly, if you use the control inputs from Street Fighter, you can do more powerful versions of his special attacks, which is such a neat little touch for fans of that series. Next up is arguably the most surprising one, Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. No one saw this coming. And I'm not a big fan. He has a neat limit break down special based on a charging meter, which is a neat nod to his original game, but otherwise I don't find him super unique compared to the other fighters in the game. That's just me though. And Square Enix was very stingy about putting him in the game, because while he came with his own stage, Midgar, he only got 2 music tracks, and even in Ultimate they did not add more, nor did they add a Final Fantasy Assist trophy or give Cloud a unique character spirit. It's just his render from Smash 4. Moving on, Corrin from Fire Emblem Fates. You know, it's interesting that at the time of Smash 4's release, I hadn't played any Fire Emblem game, but by the time all the DLC was released, I had played both Awakening and most of Fates. And I gotta say, Corrin is by far the most unique Fire Emblem character in the game. Like Robin, he can be a she, and her ability to turn into a water dragon really distinguishes her from the other sword fighters. Sure, she's not a mage like Robin, but I appreciate her nonetheless, even though people think she's trash. And finally, Bayonetta, the winner of the Smash Ballot, which was used so that fans could vote on who they wanted to be DLC, but ultimately did not matter because they were too big of pussies to put Goku in the game. Regardless, Bayo is a pretty neat character, having alternate costumes based on both her appearances in Bayonetta 1 and 2. But good lord, was she borderline broken in Smash 4. Like, not quite as bad as Meta Knight from Brawl, but pretty close. She does have a dope timing-based Final Smash, however, and comes with a pretty cool stage, Umbra Clock Tower. There were a few other stages released exclusively as DLC, including a Super Mario Maker-based stage where hazards and platforms are created around you as you fight, and some returning old stages, mostly from 64, such as Peach's Castle, which included an incredible remix of Bob-omb Battlefield from Mario 64. But now, finally, back to Ultimate. We need to talk about Echo Fighters. So a big complaint I had about the roster in 4 was the amount of clones, specifically Dark Pit, Lucina, and Dr. Mario. But Ultimate almost entirely solves that problem with Echo Fighters. See, every fighter in the game is designated a number based on when they first appeared in the Smash Bros. Series, but instead of giving Dark Pit and Lucina their own numbers alongside the other Smash 4 newcomers, they share the same number as Pit and Marth respectively. But I really want to know why the hell Dr. Mario is not considered an Echo Fighter of Mario. Yes, his down special is different, but I don't think he's anywhere near unique enough to merely be considered a semi-clone like Falco, Ganondorf, and even technically Luigi. Because guess what? Dark Pit? Not only is his side special different from Pit's, but his final smash is totally different. But he's considered an Echo Fighter, so I firmly believe that Dr. Mario should be too. Even more so since Chrom, one of the new characters who is considered an echo of Roy, is so different from Roy. If anything, he's like a combination of Marth, Roy, and Ike, but he's still considered an echo, even though he's by far the most unique echo in the game. Dr. Mario deserves to be considered an echo, but since he's not one in this game, they can't well make him one in future games because then they'd have to shift all the numbers of everyone introduced after Melee back, and it would just be a big, huge mess. Fuck you, Dr. Mario, you should die like pigs in hell. And now, finally, for real this time, the new characters. Now, even though new Echo Fighters were given the same number as the character they're based on, I'm still going to talk about them in the order they were revealed, alongside the new original fighters. So first and foremost, the Inklings from Splatoon. Interesting they chose Splatoon 1 Inklings rather than Splatoon 2, probably because they're more recognizable, or maybe that just goes to show you how long this game's been in development. Anyways, the Inklings gimmick is that they spray you with ink, and when you're covered in ink, you take more damage. They do have limited ink reserves though, and I'm not a huge fan because I'm not sure if there's a way to replenish their ink tank until it's completely run out, but I think that's just because I'm not great with them. I hear there might be a way to do it with shielding, I don't know. I still think the characters have a lot of potential, and I enjoy that there's male and female variants like with the Fire Emblem avatars. The first new Echo Fighter revealed was Daisy, as an echo of Peach. She's pretty much the same as Peach, honestly, with some aesthetic differences, and now Peach has no use for her alternate colors based on Daisy. Really wish they didn't remove her third eye, though. Apparently, like with most of these newcomers, there was a relatively high demand for Daisy in 4, as was there for the next newcomer, Ridley from Metroid. Look at that! He was in Brawl and then he was in 4 and now he's here! You can play as him and he's not too big, isn't that awesome? That is awesome! One of my favorite parts about Ridley in this game is that he has two costumes representing his robotic forms Meta Ridley and Mecha Ridley. I think they're a great touch, especially for those who remember Meta Ridley as a boss in Brawl. Then there was Simon Belmont from the Castlevania series, and he is one of my absolute favorite newcomers in this game. His whip has insane range in his smash attacks, which is balanced by making it a bit slow, and all of his specials have very specific arcs that seem like they would miss frequently, but really don't, which makes them so satisfying to pull off. Along with Simon, they also introduced Richter Belmont as an Echo Fighter, and I just love the idea of giving a new fighter an Echo, sort of blurring the lines of who's the real Echo and who's the original. I really hope they don't shy away from introducing two characters at once like this in future games. Personally, while I don't think Richter is super different from Simon, something about Simon feels better to me, so I think I prefer him. While on the subject of Echo Fighters, as I said earlier, Chrom is by far the most different Echo in the game compared to his original fighter. While he's designated as an Echo of Roy, he honestly has a hodgepodge of moves from every Fire Emblem character in the game, which honestly makes me like him more than the rest of them. My favorite aspect might be his final smash, the Awakening Ether, which looks phenomenal and doesn't have the critical hit health drain effect like Marth, Roy, and Lucina, and it's not an air flurry like Ike's Great Ether. It's awesome. Chrom is a great character. A bit confused why they didn't remove him from Robin's Final Smash and Victory animations though, since he's a playable character now, even if he's in the same match. Dark Metroid appears as an echo of Samus, getting the Little Mac treatment by making an upgrade from being an assist trophy in 4. She seems a little floatier than Samus, which I enjoy, but regular Samus is also pretty floaty, so it may just be the different animations messing with my head. So an interesting tidbit about the Inklings and Chrom is that they actually appeared as downloadable Mii Fighter costumes in 4, probably as a teaser for their plans to include them in the next game, as was the case with the next newcomer, King K. Rool. Oh man, this guy has been MIA since Mario Super Sluggers, and he's a huge heavy hitter with attacks that reference all of his boss fights in the Donkey Kong series, including the Game Over screen from Donkey Kong 64 in his Final Smash. Another downloadable Mii costume that became its own fighter? Isabelle from Animal Crossing New Leaf. I was honestly really surprised at first that she wasn't an Echo Fighter or Villager, but I much prefer her moveset. Plus, she can spawn infinite assist trophies. Like Dark Metroid, she was also upgraded from being an assist trophy in 4, which kinda makes you think, especially with how many people bitched about certain characters only being assist trophies in this game, and how many characters like Ridley and King K. Rool were most likely included because of how heavily they were demanded for in 4. A lot of characters will probably be assist trophy upgrades in the eventual next game, like Waluigi, Shadow, Isaac, Skull Kid, Shovel Knight, and Springman, just based on how massively those characters were requested for this game. But that's purely hypothetical. The final new Echo Fighter is Ken from Street Fighter, which I think was a perfect choice since he's pretty much a clone of Ryu in their home series as well. I also think it's neat that a DLC fighter from 4 got their own Echo. And I suck with both of them. And the final new fighter is the obligatory Gen 7 Pokemon rep, Incineroar. As much as I was hoping for Decidueye, Incineroar is one of my favorite characters in this game, if not my overall favorite newcomer, especially when fighting multiple opponents. So many of its attacks have large areas of effect, and its recovery, while it looks really bad, is actually surprisingly effective. Incineroar is the wrestling fan cat dad we don't deserve. I adore the roster of this game. As many characters as there were that I wanted that didn't make it in, I'd be an ungrateful fool to complain about these newcomers. I love them all so much and don't have nearly as many problems with them as I did with 4's newcomers. There have also been 2 DLC characters announced so far, including the out-of-nowhere Piranha Plant as an early buy free bonus, and Joker from Persona 5. I don't want to make any judgments on these characters until they're officially out and I've played as them, so maybe I'll do a follow-up review when the game is a year old, see how it holds up, talk about the DLC fighters. Hopefully they'll all be out by then, and it'll just be a gay old time. Since everyone is here, that means fighters who haven't appeared since Melee or Brawl have made a return, like how in 4 they brought back Dr. Mario, Mewtwo, and Roy from Melee. Even Pichu, a character who was considered a joke in Melee because it was a semi-clone of Pikachu that damaged itself with electricity, is back. And yes, it still damages itself, but due to the fast-paced and well-balanced nature of this game, Pichu is actually a viable character now, and it has way more alternate costumes, including a Team Aqua and Team Skull bandana, and the illustrious spiky-eared Pichu. I'll say this now, I like using Pichu more than Pikachu, and they have the same Final Smash now, Volt Tackle, which was changed to be more controllable and less like a transformation. Young Link is back, which seems very warranted considering what massive changes were made to Adult Link. Young Link is essentially for those players who enjoyed Adult Link in previous games, but not Toon Link. Yes, for obvious reasons he's different, but I much enjoy his inclusion. Like in Melee, he has fire arrows on his bow, and a regular boomerang, but they gave him Adult Link's old Final Smash, the Triforce Slash. I'm not against it, but I kinda wish they had incorporated Fierce Deity Link from Majora's Mask into it, even if it was just an aesthetic change. Plus, now his and Toon Link's Final Smashes are the exact same, which is kind of lame. There were also some characters from Brawl who weren't as lucky as Lucas to be DLC in 4, including Ice Climbers! Ice Climbers are back! Have I mentioned Ice Climbers are back? They're cooler, they're harder to desync, and their Final Smash looks awesomer, and I'm so happy they're back! Fan favorite Solid Snake returns, better than he was in Brawl, and with a new Final Smash that calls in a helicopter to fire missiles at targeted opponents. I don't know if I like it more or less than his Brawl Final Smash, but I appreciate the Metal Gear Solid 5 reference. Pokemon Trainer now has a female variant with alternate costumes resembling various protagonists throughout the series, and yes, that means Charizard was relegated back to being swappable with Squirtle and Ivysaur. His side special is the same as it was in 4 though, and his down special that was his side special in Brawl is now gone, because the down special special switches between the Pokemon. I'm a little surprised they brought back Pokemon Trainer in this way, rather than letting Squirtle and Ivysaur be different characters with new down specials, considering 4's heavy emphasis on getting rid of character transformations. Regardless, if you only want to use one of them, that's now a viable option, since they don't get tired anymore if they aren't switched out. So Charizard mains from 4 don't have to adapt. Triple Finish is once again their final smash, so no more Mega Charizard X. And the biggest glow up in a returning character was definitely Wolf, whose design is now based on Star Fox Zero, eye patch instead of a scouter and everything. All of his specials are aesthetically different too, and most of them were buffed to be more useful and do more damage. He honestly feels like a completely different character than he did in Brawl, including a different final smash, which now functions like Captain Falcon's, which is close range and leads into a little animation when it hits. Fox and Falco's were also changed to this, and the three of them have different dialogue when using it against each other. And like Wolf, a lot of characters were significantly redesigned from their appearance in 4, specifically those from the Zelda series. Link is now sporting his Breath of the Wild appearance, complete with remote rune bombs and a different final smash. That's just the light arrow from Sheik and Zelda's final smashes. And Dark Pit. Some of his alternate costumes include the Classic Tunic, the Fierce Deity Tunic, and the Darkling Tunic, but his Twilight Princess attire is pretty much no longer anywhere to be seen. Sheik isn't massively different, but now her attire more so resembles the stealth clothing from Breath of the Wild. Zelda, however, got one of my favorite redesigns, now based on A Link Between Worlds. Her alternate costumes still make reference to her former Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess appearances, but overall her new design is much more vibrant and frankly adorable. She also has a new final smash, the Triforce of Wisdom, differentiating her from Sheik. It essentially acts as a black hole that can completely kill opponents if it sends them over 100%. And finally, Ganondorf. After sporting his Twilight Princess look for 2 games in a row, is back in his Ocarina of Time attire like he was in Melee. He also now sports a sword that makes his smash attacks way cooler, and his final smash is also Beast Pig Ganon from Ocarina of Time, sword and everything. That's pretty dope. And speaking of Melee, the game graphically really does kinda resemble an updated Melee. I noticed this most when looking at Bowser. He's definitely not as vibrantly colored as he was in 4. A few characters have new alternate costumes that full-on change their appearance, rather than simply being a palette swap, like Mario's Builder and Wedding outfits, Ike's appearance from both of his games, which were each respectively represented in the past 2 Smash games, and the aforementioned Meta Ridley costumes. Certain characters also have slightly altered movesets in Final Smashes, but I'll only run through the most notable ones. One of the biggest changes they tried to make when it came to Final Smashes was to entirely remove transformations, so now Yoshi's, Pikachu's, Bowser's, Fox and Falco's, Wario's, Diddy Kong's, Sonic's, Little Mac's, and Pac-Man's were all changed to be more cinematic. But as a result, a lot of characters' Final Smashes can kinda be grouped together into certain categories because of how similarly they're activated, with some being more unique than others. And Lucario gets his Omega Laser of Death back from Brawl while also being Mega, so good on him. Luigi's grabs now utilize the Poltergust, Mr. Game & Watch's animations are now more clear and detailed with the references to old Game & Watch games. Pit's Final Smash was changed again. Good lord, that kid cannot keep one of those for more than one game. And one of my favorite changes, Robin's attacks now show how many uses his weapons have, rather than forcing you to guess and adapt when you lose a tome like in 4. And custom moves are completely gone from 4, other than with Mii Fighters. Characters' movesets are now completely unchangeable. But while on the subject of Mii Fighters, yes, they are back, but if you know anything about the Switch, you know there's no Mii Maker, so any Mii you want to add other than the one connected to your Nintendo account has to be made in the game. There's no way to port Miis from other systems unless you have a Mii Fighter amiibo, which, let's face it, unless you're a collector, nobody has a Mii Fighter amiibo. But other than that minor inconvenience, I love every character's moveset in this game, and I think the updates make a lot of them more viable. So let's wrap up this video by talking about the single player content in this game. The biggest draw are the spirits, which essentially replace trophies and stickers from previous games, and they each have a battle corresponding to them, where one of the fighters in the game fights you under certain conditions that make reference to the character represented by the spirit. I absolutely adore the idea of this, and the solo adventure mode, World of Light, features hundreds of these in a massive world full of Nintendo references through sub-areas, bosses, and unlockable fighters, since you start this mode with only Kirby. It's not quite as complex as the Subspace Emissary from Brawl, but it's still a great time. I don't want to get into too much detail on World of Light, since the game is hardly a month old, and unlike some people, I don't have the audacity to spoil new games for people in my thumbnails, you fucking Prosofia piece of shit human being. So maybe in that follow-up video I mentioned earlier that I want to do once the game is a year old, I'll go into more detail on this mode and talk about what I think of each of the bosses. You can also face spirits on the spirit board, which somewhat replaces event mode, I think for the better, since event mode was always limited to playable fighters in the game, and it couldn't do unique things with outside characters like spirits can. Ultimate also has what I consider to be the outright best version of classic mode in the series. Rather than a random sequence of fights against other characters, Ultimate has a preset path for each character, which is themed after a certain aspect of that character, with one of the various bosses from the game at the end. Seeing all of these unique paths was a great reason to actually play through Classic with every character, which I can't say that I've been inclined to do in any previous games. Classic is also my personal favorite way to unlock characters, as each of the starting characters has a hierarchical path that you can do in order to get to a certain character more quickly than World of Light or regular battles. Plus, by the time you have every character by doing this method, you'll have already completed Classic with most characters. If I did have one complaint about it though, it would be that the boss at the end of each character's path, despite having the possibility of being one of the new and unique ones, is Master Hand and or Crazy Hand for 45 of the 71 different paths. And sometimes it's done cleverly, like when it's both of the hands when the theme is fighting against duos, but all other times it feels like it was because they couldn't come up with a unique reason to have a character fight one of the other bosses. Other single player modes include the returning All-Star mode, which is now a part of Mob Smash, this game's equivalent of Multi-Man Smash. It still goes in chronological order of their first original appearance, like in 3DS, but now it's set up like Multi-Man Smash, where you have to take them all out with increased launch rates and no breaks in between. It's by far the most challenging All-Star mode this series has seen yet, and as of the time of this video, I still haven't beaten it. And Smashdown is a neat new mode where you can do consecutive battles, but every time you or an opponent select a character for one battle, you can no longer select those same characters for any of the following battles. This keeps going until you're completely out of characters, and I think it's a great way to give all of them a try. And that's everything I thought was notable in the game. Ultimate is packed with content, and as of this video, I've clocked in over 100 hours into it, 40% of which was just World of Light. Even from a purely single-player standpoint, there is an overwhelming amount to do, and I can't see myself stopping anytime in the near future. I can honestly say that even if I spent more time with Brawl and 4 and have more nostalgic memories with them, Ultimate may be the best experience I've had with a Smash Bros. Game. It's incredibly balanced and has yet to bore me, despite having finished World of Light, New Game Plus of World of Light, and all characters Classic Mode routes. If you were waiting for a reason to get a Nintendo Switch, this game is, pun completely intended, the ultimate reason why you should. It was by far my top game of 2018, and because of the massive amount of single player and multiplayer content, I'm sure it'll continue to last me many years. And there's DLC coming out. That is insane that this game will be able to hold even more content. This series has come such a long and winding way, and with that in mind, I thought maybe next year before I do the follow-up video in December, I might want to do a retrospective of all the Smash games through 64, Melee, Brawl. I'll look at 4 a second time. That just seems like a really fun idea to me. And if that's something you want to see, please let me know in the comments. Anyways, I've rambled on enough. This has been Matt Chats. Take care. But of course, Melee players won't dare prefer this game over their precious GameCube masterpiece, because they will never be satisfied. Did I really just... Ugh, please kill me now. That's not in great taste. That's... You know what? It's 2019. I'm changing that. Oh no, I kinda like that joke. Ugh, please kill me now before the Melee players do. No, I'm sorry. Please kill me now is in bad taste. In my opinion. It's the only one that offends is me, is the issue. There could be a blooper reel in this. Sure, she's not a mage like Robin, but I appreciate her nonetheless. Is that not a woke joke? Is that not a woke joke for 2019? I don't know. I don't know if that's okay. I hope it's okay. Oh, good lord. I wrote this in 2018. Don't crucify me. Interesting they chose Splatoon 1 Inklings rather than Splatoon 2, probably because they're more recognizable, or maybe that just goes to show you how long or maybe that just goes to show you how long this game has been in. God damn it. I hate myself so much. I love it. I still think the characters have a lot of potential, and I enjoy that there's male and female variants, like with the Fire Emblem avatars. No love for Wii Fit. I don't even think I mentioned Wii Fit at all in this review. Good. Fuck you, Wii Fit. You should die like pigs in hell. Oh god, I'm gonna do a blooper reel. One of my favorite parts about Ridley in this game is that he has two costumes representing the red. Why am I doing that now? I haven't done that for any other screw-ups, even in other videos. His whip has insane range in his smash attacks, which is balanced by making it a bit slow, and all of his specials has very... Stop doing that! While he's designated as an echo of Roy, he honestly has a hodgepodge of moves from every Fire Emblem character in the game, which honestly makes him feel more... makes me like him more. Which honestly makes... I did it again. Dark Metroid appears as an echo of... Hold on. If anybody's watching the blooper reel, if I do it, if you're at this point, I would like you to know, I know his name's not Dark Metroid. That's a joke. My god, we are at 30 minutes already. This is a long-ass one. I'm a little past halfway through the script, and we're at 30 minutes. I've been wanting to do longer reviews. They told me I couldn't do it. She seems a little floatier than Samus, which I enjoy, but regular Samus is also pretty floaty, so it must just... So an interesting little tidbit about the Inklings in Chrom is that they actually appeared as downloadable A lot of characters will probably be assist trophy upgrades in the next... Certain characters also have slightly altered movesets in Final Smashes, but I'll only run through the most... Haven't done that in a while, Jesus.